Hi, welcome back to Repairing Lawnmowers for Profit. In this video I'm going to take a look at this US Pro air hammer. I've actually seen this used on a few channels recently to actually remove the flywheel on these lawnmowers, because usually normally in the correct way you'd use a puller and pull them up, but in honesty nobody really does that on any of the channels. I have been a little bit honest in my last video, and the flywheels, normally I've got this big rubber mallet in here, you can see there, and I normally bump them off from underneath, but it's not the best idea to do really. And I don't really use a puller, to be honest with you, on these little flywheels on these little Briggs engines. But this is a nice new Mountfield mower that I've had sent to me by Mountfield, and this flywheel will have never been off, so I want to try and use this new tool I've got to actually take this flywheel off. Now the reason for taking off the flywheel is if you want to check the keyway at the top of the crankshaft, because if you've hit something, damaged the keyway, you need to know if it's sheared or not, and this will happen if you hit like a drain cover or a tree stump or something like that. And a classic sign of that is if obviously the lawnmower's vibrating, not running right, but also if you actually pull the pull cord here and it kicks back. So I've seen a few channels do this. My good mate at Mixed Mowers has done this a few times, and I've seen Martin at Retro Restore do it. So I've treated myself this month. Sometimes I reinvest some of my profits back into tools now and again. And when I saw this, I think it was about £14. I'll put a link in the description of this video to one of these. Wasn't much at all. I thought, well, I'll give this a go. So just to go through a few things, I've just set this up, and there's some kind of half English instructions with it, but it doesn't show you how to assemble it. So what I've done, just making sure that's disconnected, is I've found my actual connector here that goes to my actual compressor, and I've got that all set up on there exactly as I want. But this part here, this like spring bit here, what I did with that is that was actually off this, so I left that off and I put this actual air chisel part here into the actual gun. Then I screwed that over the top here, screwed it all the way on until the threads were right to the end there, as you can see. So that's tightly on. The idea behind that is that this actual part actually can't come out. So if you want to swap this part for a different chisel, you have to unscrew this. I had a bit of difficulty getting this on, so I just stuck my finger in this little tub of oil here and just kind of went round the actual threads a little bit. But eventually I got there, and I was looking in here to try and unscrew this part here. This was the black part. It had like a flat cover on it. Just in here somewhere, there's a cover. So it looked like you needed to take that off. See this part here? That was kind of sat in that gap there, and I thought you had to take this whole part off and then actually screw this in the thread, but you don't do that. So that's how I assembled it. Put this in first, screwed that over the top, and then took the black plastic part off this here, and then put my connector in. So I've only got this cheap compressor here, and I've just made sure that I've unplugged this as well before I've actually been picking it up, because it's quite a powerful little bit of kit this, and I'll demonstrate that to you now. So you always want to be wearing safety glasses with stuff like this, but you can probably see, watch, what it does. When it's touching against something, it just vibrates, and the idea is you put this at the top of the crankshaft in the actual little hole nowhere near the threads. Must keep it away from all the threads. It vibrates, and when it vibrates you can just get yourself a bar, like a crowbar or one of these I've got in here. Just put it underneath it and just prise the flywheel up, because if you try to do this and you're new to repairing lawnmowers for profit, trying to get a flywheel off is kind of one of the most difficult things you can do, and I'll show you the reasons for that when we've stripped this lawnmower down. So I've kind of got caught out with this whole coronavirus episode recently, so I was hoping to have quite a lot more lawnmowers in than I've got at the minute, and I've only got a couple in at the minute. So obviously I'm not going to be going out just at the minute and get the right socket on there. I'm not obviously going to be going out at the minute and actually buying and selling these lawnmowers, which is a shame because we're actually getting into that season now. But you've got to do the right thing, haven't you? And you've got to keep everybody safe. So let's just put that in there. If I could find the right part, and that could get that off. This is what happens when you put your tools back in your socket set wrong. Should never do that. I know why. It's because it was dark. So now I've got myself a 10mm extended socket and put this on here. I'll just remove the spark plug lead as well, like I always do. And if you've not seen already, I've actually filmed a full series of videos on this Mountfield S481 lawnmower, and it's as I mentioned on a lot of videos, this was kindly sent to me by Mountfield, and as yet they've not asked me for it back, so I'm kind of hoping I can keep it, because really I'm in need of a new lawnmower. So this one hooks from the back here. If you haven't watched the last video, the last one is hiding behind here. You don't need to take the sticker off. We'll just whip this off, and I'm going to show you the flywheel, and I'm going to show you the difficulties you might have getting it off if you don't have any sort of specialist tools. Because using a puller on something like this when you're kind of just starting out, it's time consuming, and nobody really does that. I shouldn't really say that, but not many people, let's say not many people do that with the actual flywheel puller. And after the time you do it with these cheap flywheel pullers, the puller actually breaks as well. I think I bought one from Briggs & Stratton, and even that one broke, so let's just get that off there. Just get a flat-headed screwdriver and we'll just undo that little clip, remove that shroud again. I did this the other day, but it's really not too difficult. It's quite a good mower to actually just strip down, is this, so I'll take that off there like that. And that just pulls over, if I remember right, like that. And that comes off, and now we've got whole access to this flywheel here, and this is the part I want to get off. So this is the part, if you've just started out, where you might need to just invest in a few specialist tools. What you need to do is we need to remove this nut here that's at the top of the flywheel. Now you'll find, if you're like me, when I first started doing this, what really happens is you kind of find a socket big enough and you turn it, and what happens is the whole thing just kind of turns. You turn the flywheel, you turn the engine, you turn the blade underneath, and the only way you can really stop this from turning is to wedge a bit of wood underneath to stop the blade turning, kind of kneel on it and undo this with a great big long spanner. But I've invested in some impact drills recently. I've got a Ryobi one and a Clark one, as I always mention on the videos, and if you've got that, it's powerful enough and it's fast enough to just unzip this nut, and you can take that off and you can see the flywheel key. But once you've got that off, you still need to remove this flywheel as well if you've got a sheared flywheel key. So I'm going to give this Ryobi one a test out as well. I always link to these, both my impacts, in the description of the video as well. A lot of people really seem to quite like these. Actually a little light on the end, and most of the time it's fast enough and powerful enough to just unbolt these. So let's give this a go. You can see there, it's a second to get that off, and believe me, if you don't have these tools, that could take you at least a good 10 minutes really. So I know there's no problem with the flywheel key on this lawnmower, and I'm going to look down that little gap there, and it's actually sat quite far down on here. But the next job you've kind of got to do to get the actual flywheel off is you've got to get this from underneath and pull it off. You see how you can't pull this off from the bottom? It don't pull up the crankshaft. What you can normally do on the older ones is get that rubber mallet and bump it off from underneath, but the newer design on these type of lawnmowers, and particularly on the new 450E series Briggs engines as well, they've kind of got this shroud round it, so you can't get in to bump them off. So that's why I wanted to buy this actual air hammer, because the idea is you just drop the top of the air hammer in here, make sure you don't hit these threads, never ever hit the crankshaft with a hammer or anything. If you squash the threads, that'll be the end of the lawnmower, unless you want to replace the crankshaft. So I'm going to drop it in there, I'm going to let it vibrate, and under this little part here, I'm very carefully just going to put that bar under just to ease it up, making sure I don't damage anything under here as well. So I'm going to put that in there, I'm going to press it, and at the same time I'm just going to lever it up under here, and I'm hoping this pops off, because if you try and do this any other way, it's going to take ages. The actual correct way to do it is to screw a flywheel puller into here, and you lay it across the actual top of this crankshaft here, and you wind it and the whole thing lifts up. But what you'll find is, if they've never been off on lawnmowers that you're repairing for profit and they've been on for years, you'll find that actually a lot of the time the flywheel pullers that I've had anyway have been really quite cheap and actually broken. So let's give this a go. I'm going to put some safety glasses on, as it suggests doing that. I've never done this before either. So the way I've been doing this, and I've actually been bumping these off from underneath, is I've actually used these bars, and these ones with this kind of shroud round here, around this side. If you get this part here and you just slide it underneath here, you can actually slide it kind of right under the flywheel. That way you're not pressing down on anything that's too gentle. What you don't want to be doing is putting it kind of in here and bending all these parts, because you'll find that the recoil doesn't go back on. So this is fairly straight at one edge. Obviously it's got a bigger hook at the other end, so I'm just going to put this way up like that, just slightly bent over. I'm going to put that under there. Just move that lead out the way, I don't want to chop anything. And make sure you're not damaging anything else, catching anything else. I'm going to put that under there, and that actually comes out right at the other side of this flywheel as well. So I'm going to get this actual air hammer, drop it in there, and I'm going to pull up on this bar, and hopefully this actual flywheel will come off. And I'm going to pop this in the top here, making sure everything's not touching these actual threads. You can see, like that. In a second, I've actually managed to get that flywheel off, so that's exactly what I wanted. And that's taken me like less than a minute to take the actual nut off the flywheel and actually remove the flywheel, which is exactly what I wanted to do, and certainly worth the sort of 14 or 15 pounds I've spent on the tool. I must stress as well, I'm sure I mentioned it already, but make sure you're wearing safety glasses when you do that as well. So I've made sure the spark plug was removed as well. You can see the lead here is out the way, so that's nice, that's off and out of the way. Look at that. Great. It's great when you've got some great tools. But don't forget, I didn't start out doing this. I used to be there with a, one of these pieces of wood. I've still got them in the corner there, wedged underneath, trying to hold the blade, trying to undo the bolt, trying to get the flywheel off with a puller. Used to take ages, and nothing's damaged in here. You can see everything's still nice and straight. And in here, this is the flywheel key. You can see inside there it's all intact, and I knew it was. I wanted to show how to remove the flywheel on this Mountfield S481 as well. So that's the easy way of doing it. And I want to cover a few things I got questions about on this mower. I actually said there was no micro switch on this lawnmower, but someone kindly left me a comment saying there is. You must have missed that, because there's this little switch here, you can see there. And I might just take this part off here and have a look and see if there's actually, what you'd kind of think is a micro switch underneath. Obviously there's a switch, you can see the actual connector, but this brake here, I've clamped that. I use these little clamps here for that. I'll show you exactly what I mean. Let's just take that off there. When you move this, it moves the brake in and out, and I showed this on the review video. I'm not sure if underneath there's actually something like a kill switch that moves on and off there. So what I think I'll do while I'm doing this video, when I've got this flywheel off, is I might just take that part off there and we'll have a little investigate under there and see exactly what sort of switch is on this Mountfield mower. Let's have a look around here and just see how we can get this off here. I'm just having a quick look, because this is as new to me as it is anyone else, but I think these actual bolts go through here. I think there's two here. I think if I take that and that off, I'll just film on top of it in case the other thing falls to bits when I take it off. If I can turn that over, hopefully we can have a little cheeky look on the underside of this and see exactly what it connects to. So let's take these two off here. Dark again. It's filming a lot of these videos on night. I can't remember that. Don't it feel like a long time since it's been summer? Since you could just kind of go in your garden at night and do some stuff? Because I feel like this winter it seems to have been dark for like more than sort of 6 months. Maybe it's just me. So I don't know, seem to have a long winter. Don't know. Had a lot of things going on over Christmas as well with various things, but yeah, it seems to have been a long time. I think it's because a lot's kind of happened. But leave me a comment in the comments section if you can't wait for next week when the clock's actually changing. It gets a little bit lighter on a night. Let's just take that one out of there. Let's just have a look at this before I take it off as well. Take that one there. Keep them there. I don't want to lose anything down any gaps. And hopefully, yeah, I can turn this actual over here, and I can show you how this kill switch works. And just as I am, this little part here is trying to jump off, so I need to just get that on my camera like that. That goes wrong like that. I suppose I can't really get that wrong, can I? The flat bit here goes towards this actual cable here, so I'm going to take that off. And the longer thread from my side here goes through this side near the brake. So let me just get my camera and I'm going to show you exactly where the kill switch is on this Mountfield S481. Just looking back on my YouTube comments as well, DSA Gardening commented, not sure if you noted it again, but you said there was no micro switch. There is. It's the clear spade fitting with the blue ink marks on it, just at the right of the carb on your close-ups. Let me see what else he wrote. It was nice about it, which was quite nice as well. I'll tell you what, I'll give a few people a little tip on here as well. Usually if I get messages through Facebook and no one says please, I normally don't reply. So what did he put? Yeah, great mowers and the carb close-up really helps. So good. Thanks DSA Gardening. And because of your great comment. I'm now able to show people this switch. So you can see here, this is like a kill switch, and on this side here, this is the brake. This moves away, and it won't move at the minute because it's not actually bolted down, but when this brake swings away here, imagine the flywheel's in here, and it's obviously like a circular pattern. It's round, let's say it's round. This goes against the round bit of the flywheel, the edge of the flywheel, and it breaks. So when you pull the handle up here, this moves away. So it disconnects when you move it away, which is great. So when it disconnects on the other side here, it moves this block here away from this part here. And when you've got a disconnection, that's what connects the spark up. So when this disconnects from this actual block here, what happens is it allows this lead here to actually have a spark, and you get a spark on your lawnmower. So when this is connected, the spark is shut off, it stops. So the idea is the brake does have a micro switch on, so when the brake moves away, there is actually a disconnection between this switch underneath here, which allows spark to go down this into this actual ignition coil, and of course down this actual spark plug lead into the spark plug and into the engine. So there is a micro switch on it, there is a kill switch on it. Thanks to DSA Gardening for pointing that out. So if you're having trouble starting one of these and you really can't find what's wrong with it, this is a micro switch or a kill switch, and it's on the underside of this actual brake here that sits on the flywheel. So I should probably do a separate video on that. This video was only supposed to be about removing the flywheel, but I guess to access that kill switch you would need to take off this part, and probably need to take off this flywheel as well. I guess we'll best put these parts back on, haven't we, really? So that just simply went round there. The longer one went down there on the right hand side, so I'll just lightly thread that, as you can see there. Just get that started there, and then I have this one here that went like that. This goes in there like that as well, and I'll show you exactly what I mean when I've got these tightened up about the kill switch, because I probably didn't do the best ever job of describing how it works. It's hard when you get tired though, isn't it? When it's late at night and you get a bit tired, you start, really, more than normal, start rambling and making no sense. So I really need to make sure this gets threaded back in here correctly. That's it. So I'll get both those two started off. That's how they were before. Let's tighten these up. And putting these back together is an absolute doddle. The hard bit of the flywheel is just getting it off, so make sure they're tight. And this is the actual brake part that touches against the wheel. What I was trying to describe before is when this is dropped back on, this clamps against it like that, and when you pull the actual handle at the top, it moves away. And when this moves away, this part here, in the top of my fingernail there's actually a switch, and that disconnects. So when the switch is disconnected, there's actually a gap. You get the spark running around here to the ignition coil and into the plug. And when it goes back to its position it's in now, which is against the flywheel, this connects against a kill switch, which actually kills the spark. And it kills everything right from here, right down the spark plug lead, right into the spark plug. So if you're having starting issues in about 10 years time when these lawnmowers are older, it's probably because this kill switch has failed, which doesn't happen very often on a lawnmower, or this spade connector's come off. But that actually is quite a robust kill switch. It's a lot more robust and less likely to break than one on the older Briggs style ones. So more difficult to clean, and I'd imagine you probably at least have to move this brake out of the way and even take off this flywheel to get that part off and actually look at that kill switch. So I think doing this video and actually taking off this flywheel might just help a few people out who are looking to check the kill switch on this Mountfield S481 as well. So I like to clamp the handle at the top, and that's moved this out of the way. All you need to do is line this notch up here, actually a little notch here on the actual flywheel there. Line that up and drop it down the actual keyway. If you look from the top, make sure everything's nice and lined up. And this should just drop back down. I think that's about as far as it goes actually. I could probably release that now. The brake should move back in, hold everything in place like that, and that's fine. I'm going to get this top nut here. I'm going to put this on, and what I usually do with these is I normally just thread them on all the way down with my fingers, take these back up, because if you cross thread this you're really in trouble. This is like the worst possible thing you could do. So I'm going to make sure that's threaded completely correctly, and then I'm going to get my actual Ryobi impacts again, and I'm actually going to just fasten this back up as well. So I'll just zoom you out a bit there so we can see. Make sure the spark plug lead is away from the spark plug as well. Make sure your feet are never under a lawnmower. And that's tight, that's all we need to do with that. That's the flywheel back on. A couple of parts to refit. And I really like this mower for this. Everything I've seen on it so far to get off hasn't really taken too much doing, has it? So we'll get that, put that back on there. Push that back over. This actual lead here, as I showed in the other video, there's a cut out section here. It must go through here, but it is very close to the exhaust cover. So just keep an eye on where it is, because I don't really like that too much. That's the one thing I really didn't like. And I'm going to push that spark plug lead back on now, just so I can get in a little bit easier. Next thing we're going to do is just pull this recoil back over the top. Make sure I press that down, don't I? Like that. Put this recoil back over the top here. I've got 3 parts in my back pocket, which I should have really put in my magnetic tray. We'll drop those in there and we'll tighten these back up. And I'm just finishing tightening these up. Don't want to film all that. I'm going to clip this back on from the front. I think I did it from the front the other day. There's actually this little clip here. I think I did it from the front, like that the other day. Pushed it down and then hooked the back under. Is that how I did it? Can't remember. Yeah, but that's on. And that's the whole thing back together. So when you've got a few tools and you've reinvested some of your money back in to repairing these lawnmowers, it really does make jobs like this so much easier. So I'm just going to pull this mower over and just make sure that it actually fires, which it does. That's all I needed to do, especially when I'm inside as well. But I've got the side door open there as well, so everything's back together. That mower fires up exactly as it should. Something I really want to mention on here, and I need to tidy up on here, just ignore all this, is don't mess about with things like this. I know it seems stupid, but even compressed air, pointing it at yourself, just be very careful. Don't do anything stupid. Never play about with tools such as this. Even with the compressed air line, you just shouldn't do it. It's just not one of them things to do. And something else I always do, as soon as I finish with it, the second I finish using something like this, just disconnect it and put it somewhere safe. So if you're not aware, yesterday, or the day before yesterday it'll be now, I actually released something that was free just to everybody on YouTube, and that's actually part of my website, which is the training section, which is normally a password protected site. It's got some of my old DVDs uploaded on there that I no longer kind of sell. They're just up there for people who ask for them, who want an access code, and sometimes donate things to the channel. If you want to go there and just take a look at those videos, the actual web address is listed in the description of this video, and the passcode is there as well, which is RLFP637468. But this video was all about removing that flywheel. There's a link in the description to one of these actual air hammers as well. If you buy yourself one, please be sensible and be careful with it as well, because I'd hate to get a comment saying that somebody's actually hurt themselves with something like this. So be very careful with these tools, as I've said before. And this is really a great way to remove the flywheels on these lawnmowers. And hopefully as well, if you're looking to see how the kill switch works on these Mountfield petrol lawnmowers, you'll now see, thanks to DSA gardening as well, I think it was gardening or DSA maintenance, I think it was DSA gardening, you'll think when you look in the comments, you'll see him send him a message and a thumbs up as well, because he's actually worked out that the kill switch is on this lawnmower and it's underneath. And I think to get to that as well, you actually are better off removing the flywheel if you've got the tools. So thanks for watching. Don't forget, have a look in the description of this video for everything you might need as well, and the link to the actual free training that's on the website. Thanks for watching. See you again next time. We're all doing social distancing as well, aren't we, in all this slot? So let's all do our best to stay safe, and hopefully I'll see you all fit and well next time. Thanks for watching.